Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to make these sourdough English muffins. Perfect for breakfast or just with some honey butter. So we're going to start off with 200 grams of active sourdough starter. Then we're going to add 235 grams of milk. I used whole milk, but you can use the milk of your choice. We're going to mix these two ingredients together until they're well combined. And then we're going to add 25 grams of honey. You can do 20 or 30 depending on what you like. We mix everything together again. And then we're going to add 375 grams of bread flour or all-purpose flour, whatever you have on hand. And then we're going to add 8 grams of salt. We're going to mix everything together until there are no more pockets of flour left over. This dough is a little bit on the drier side. It's not as shaggy and wet as a regular sourdough loaf dough would be. So just keep mixing until everything is well incorporated. We're going to let it sit on the counter for 1 hour, and then we're going to do our first set of stretch and folds. So this is the first set right here. I am just stretching the dough, going around the bowl a few times until the dough starts to resist. Then we will stop and let the dough rest for an additional hour, and we're going to do our second set of stretch and folds. So this right here is the second set. We are only doing 2 sets today. If you wanted to add any inclusions like dried cranberries or any type of dry fruit or even raisins, you can add it here on the second set of stretch and folds. I like to shape my dough into a ball, and then I close the bowl with a plastic wrap. And then once your dough has bulk fermented on the counter and at least doubled in size, you can do one of two things. Put this bowl into the refrigerator and let it continue to cold proof overnight. And then in the morning, you would just take out your bowl, stretch out your dough like so, and then you would use like a cookie cutter or anything that's about 3 inches wide to cut your preferred shape. And then you would let it sit on the counter for a few hours until the dough came to room temperature, and then let it rise for a little bit. Or what you can do is once your dough has doubled in size at least and it's done bulk fermenting, you can just stretch out the dough, use your cookie cutter, and just let the dough sit for an additional 2 hours. That's what I ended up doing here because I needed these English muffins for my kids' breakfast in the morning. So you can definitely do either or. I used some cornmeal to dust over and under the dough just to make sure that this dough wouldn't stick to my mat, and also because we will be using the cornmeal to cook the dough on a pan later. We're not using any oil or any flour over it. If you want, you can add a little bit of flour onto your dough so it's easier to use the cookie cutter to cut out the shape. But I don't like to do that because when it's time to cook the dough on the pan, the flour kind of burns in a way. So I just like to use the cornmeal to make the dough easier to come off the cookie cutter. This recipe makes 12 English muffins. I'm only showing you guys the pretty hearts that I ended up making. The other pieces are on the bottom. So after 2 hours, we will sprinkle some of the cornmeal onto a pan. And I like to use the lid of the pan to help cook the dough from the inside better. I leave the dough baking, or cooking I should say, for 4 to 5 minutes on each side on low heat. And once they're done cooking, I put them on a baking sheet with some parchment paper, and I bake them for an additional 10 minutes at 350 degrees. and this is the end result. These are so delicious and my kids love them so much, and I hope you guys do too. Don't mind my baby in the background. She is snoring because she just fell asleep. So anyways, this is the end result, and this is what the inside looks like. I go ahead and use a fork to poke all around the sides of the English muffin to make it easier to open up. And they're beautiful, they're soft from the inside. So thank you again for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys in my next one.